James Webb's insane discovery. A living Dyson megastructure haunts the universe at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3, the hour shrouded in darkness and secrets. This wasn't just any ordinary night for the world of astronomy, it was one of the most perplexing moments in cosmic history. The James Webb Space Telescope had just revealed something so extraordinary, so utterly mind-bending, it sent chills down the spines of every scientist glued to their screens. A massive structure curled around a distant star like a cocoon, its surface glimmering with an otherworldly glow that pulsed with an eerie life of its own. Could it be? A living Dyson megastructure, crafted by intelligence far beyond our understanding? Everyone breathed in silence, and then exhaled in a panic that echoed through the halls of the research facility. The scientists flickered between awe and dread. Some claimed to have seen shadows shifting within the construct like faint silhouettes moving purposefully, teasing the edges of perception. Their eyes widened, brows knotted in tension as they debated what this meant. Dark energy thrummed in the air, wrapping around each of them like a thick fog. The lead astronomer, Dr. Emily Reynolds, felt the weight of the universe pressing down on her chest. She whispered, "What could it want?" It was a question that ignited a spark of fear in everyone present. Every detail of this anomaly was stunning. The colors danced deep purples and vibrant greens, swirling like a galaxy itself. The sound of distant beeping monitors filled the room, a mix of urgency and dread. Would this megastructure reach out, or was this a warning? An unseen force that loomed in the void, casting shadows across their minds? The tension ratcheted higher as each person processed the implications of such a discovery. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Then came the moment that would forever change them. A blaring alarm shattered the tension. The screen flickered and revealed an image so terrifying it seemed alive. The megastructure was expanding, fibers extending outward like fingers searching for something. Panic swept the room as one voice broke through, "It's moving towards us." Reality twisted into something incomprehensible. Emily's heart raced. She felt a lump in her throat, a throbbing dread. Had they unknowingly triggered its awakening? What did it want? The silence fell heavy as every person absorbed the shocking revelation. Whispers of disbelief rippled through the scientists, eyes darting from the screen to each other. Were they on the brink of contact? Or was this mere coincidence in a vast universe? A sense of hope flickered, but lingering beneath was a well of uncertainty. The darkness of space held its breath, and the fate of humanity was a heartbeat away from being rewritten. What came next would decide everything. The pulsating glow from the megastructure intensified, casting jagged shadows across the conference room. The scientists stood frozen, trapped within the claustrophobic confines of their disbelief. Emily's breaths came in shallow gasps. What they had only theorized about the very idea of intelligent life that could build such a thing was now right in front of them, untouchable yet undeniable. "Someone needs to send a transmission," shouted Dr. Chin, a younger physicist whose usually calm demeanor had been wiped away by fear. "We can't just sit here and..." But before he could finish, the lights in the room flickered ominously, and the monitors surged with static. The energy in the air shifted, thrumming like a live wire. Emily felt static cling to her skin, her heart hammering uncontrollably. She shot a look at the lead operations technician, Marco. "Can we stabilize the connection?" "Trying." Marco's fingers flew across the keyboard as alarms blared. Each beep seemed to echo the panic pooling in everyone's stomachs. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were unwitting players in a cosmic game, and the stakes were higher than any of them could comprehend. Then, without warning, the walls of the conference room shuddered. It was a subtle tremor at first, but it quickly escalated, rattling chairs and sending papers flying. The scientists exchanged wide-eyed glances, a wordless agreement forming in the air. They couldn't stay here. Evacuate! Emily yelled, her voice barely rising above the chaos. We need to get out. A frantic rush ensued. Scientists staggered over one another, scrambling for the door. Emily's heart pounded as she tried to keep calm. Let us maintain order. Get out in pairs. But her voice was drowned out by the growing panic as the tremors became violent, like an earthquake fueled by otherworldly energy. They burst into the hallway, where streaks of fluorescent lights hummed precariously. Behind them, the monitors flickered, revealing chilling images, the megastructure spiraling closer, its luminous tendrils stretching like a cosmic spider weaving a web around them. Where's the control center? Someone shouted. Follow me. Emily directed, leading them deeper into the facility. The architecture felt like a labyrinth, and every footfall echoed her growing fear. Could they really stop what was coming? Would there be anything left to protect once the structure reached Earth? They reached the control room, a larger space lined with multiple screens flashing frantic data. Scientists were already at their stations, but the mood shifted quickly. Not one of them could look away from the monitor depicting the rogue megastructure. It's absorbing energy, Marco, now managing to find his composure, shouted. Sweat dripped down his brow as he tapped furiously on the keyboard. It's like it's feeding off our tech. We need to. Before he could finish, a powerful surge rocked the ground. The lights dimmed to a flicker, and a deep hum reverberated through the walls. All eyes shot back to the screen. The glowing surface of the megastructure was transforming. It rippled, revealing shapes that seemed almost organic, pulsating with life and a rhythm that mirrored their own racing hearts. Emily's breath caught. Was it communicating? Get ready to send a signal, she commanded, adrenaline coursing through her veins. If it's trying to talk, we need to respond. We might be the first and last chance for humanity. But then, as if responding, the structure rippled once more, and a beam of light shot out directly at them. The room filled with blinding light, and Emily felt the ground shift beneath her. As the beam connected, she could feel the heat on her skin, pulsing like the entity's heartbeat. What the? She gasped, a mixture of awe and terror gripping her. Everything around them began to distort, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling. The walls around her blurred, stretching into infinity, and she wondered, had they awakened something they couldn't control? And just as suddenly as it began, the light faded, leaving a deafening silence. In its wake. Did we? Marco breathed. Did we survive? Every scientist held their breath, hearts pounding in synchronicity. Emily stared at the monitor, pulse racing, dread pricking her skin. The screen now displayed a haunting message, slowly materializing letter by letter. We are awake. What did this mean for Earth? What had they unleashed? The fate of humanity hinged on the reply they were about to send. The silence in the control room was suffocating. Each scientist exchanged anxious glances, the weight of the glowing words still fresh in their minds. Emily couldn't shake the image of the pulsating megastructure, monstrous and magnificent, looming like a dark omen. Someone needs to answer it, she urged, her voice breaking the stillness. Determination surged through her. They had a chance, a sliver of hope, however fragile it might be. Marco's fingers danced over the keyboard, searching for a protocol. We could initiate a standard communication sequence. Something simple. A signal to let it know we're here. Do it! Emily shouted, urgency coursing through her veins. She stepped closer to the monitor. The words echoed in her mind, we are awake. The thought of them, whatever they were, waiting for her response felt unbearable. As Marco typed, the lights blinked sporadically, casting ominous shadows. Suddenly, the air crackled with a familiar static hum. Emily's heart raced. What's happening? She demanded. I don't know. Marco's eyes widened. The power fluctuations. Before he could finish, the room shook again, even more violently this time. Papers swirled in the air, and the screens flickered. A low rumble filled the room, matched only by the increasing temperature around them. Emily could feel beads of sweat trickling down her back, urgency mixed with dread. The monitors shifted from static to a clear feed. It displayed a series of indecipherable images like strobe lights illuminating a grotesque dance of colors and patterns. Emily squinted, trying to make sense of it. The data, it's changing, one scientist gasped. It's like it's encoding something. Just as she thought they might decipher the signals, the screen blacked out. An overwhelming silence flooded the room. Everyone froze, breathing shallowly. Emily could feel her pulse ringing in her ears like a distant drumroll. Then, out of the silence, a voice emerged deep, resonating, almost symphonic. What is life? The question blasted through their consciousness, vibrating inside their chests. Is that coming from the structure? Dr. Chen asked, fear etched on his face. We're being contacted, you must respond. Now! Emily yelled, her heart racing. Marco's fingers hesitated, caught in the vortex of panic and awe. Can we even understand what it wants? Marco shouted back. I don't care. Just say something, anything, she replied, as primal fear clawed at her throat. Initializing communication protocol, Marco exclaimed, but before he could finish, the room trembled again, the lights flickering grotesquely, a stark contrast to the now harrowing atmosphere. The monitors exploded with new visuals, distorted faces and shifting galaxies, blurring the line between dreams and reality. Emily felt a pull, as if the structure was drawing them into its depths. We have to complete the transmission, she urged, but deep inside, a gnawing feeling of foreboding took root. Mortality wrenched at her with icy hands. What if this led to humanity's doom? Images twisted and contorted, a kaleidoscope of horror and beauty. RESP Emily's words were cut off as a shockwave slammed into them. The force blasted through the room, throwing them against the walls. Shouts and cries of fear erupted, drawing them back to the present. The screens flickered again, stabilizing just enough for Emily to see a new message materializing slowly, each letter curling into existence with a ghostly light. Prepare for engagement. A wave of dread washed over her. They hadn't prepared for this. Did we awaken something or open a door we can't close? Marco asked, his voice trembling. Emily could only stare at the screen, the weight of impending doom lingering like a dark cloud. The very air around them felt charged, alive with something almost sentient. What do we do now? Emily whispered, eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. Suddenly, the lights died completely, plunging them into darkness. Only the emergency alarms blared, echoing through the chaos. Did they hear us? Dr. Chen panted, breathless. And then, just when Emily thought it couldn't get any worse, a new sound broke through, a dreadful rumble from outside the facility. It was low at first, but quickly escalated into a high-pitched wail, reverberating against their very souls. Something is coming, Emily breathed, her heart thundering in response. What now? What kind of force had they unleashed? The struggle for humanity's survival had only just begun, but this new threat was already looming over them. Would they survive the next encounter? As the ominous sounds grew louder, a chilling thought filled her mind: the real engagement was about to begin. The rumble outside transformed into an earth-shattering roar. The vibrations rattled the very foundation of the facility, reverberating like an impending storm. Emily's heart raced as her mind swirled in chaos. What could be moving towards them with such ferocity? Get ready! We need to secure the control panel, she shouted, her voice barely cutting through the cacophony. Marco's hands fumbled over the keyboard, lights flickering as he desperately tried to stabilize the connection. Behind them, another scientist, Stella, rushed forward. Emergency protocols. We need to lock down now. Her breath came in sharp bursts, and Emily could see the panic etched across her face. Do it! Emily shouted. They couldn't afford to hesitate. The hum of machinery drowned out the tension in the air as they each worked furiously, the stakes escalating with each passing moment. And then silence. The wailing ceased without warning, replaced abruptly by an unnatural stillness. The control room, now darker than ever, felt like a hollow chamber. Everyone froze, hearts pounding in shared apprehension. Emily could even hear her own shallow breaths echoing in her ears. What the hell just happened? Marco muttered, his eyes darting to the darkened monitors. Suddenly, a new light flickered to life, illuminating the room with an eerie glow. The screens lit up again, but this time projections of horrifying faces stared out at them. They melted into each other, shifting from one grotesque visage to another, a nightmare drawn from the depths of their anxieties. Are those the entities? Dr. Chen stumbled back, eyes wide with terror. We need to shut this down before too late, Emily yelled, her voice rising over the mounting chaos. The walls trembled as the message began to scroll across the screen, each word ablaze with an otherworldly light. Existence is a choice. What does that mean? Stella whispered, her voice quivering. I don't know, but it feels like they're trying to tell us something, Emily replied, fighting the surge of fear rising like bile in her throat. The air buzzed thickly with a kind of electric energy, swelling until it felt like it could explode. Emily felt small and vulnerable under the eerie gaze of the faces, yet at the same time, a strange compulsion gripped her, an urge to communicate, to understand. Let me try, she called out, stepping closer to the monitor again. Maybe they're reaching out for help, or information. She hesitated, swallowing hard. Could she step into the unknown? Marco looked at her with desperation in his eyes. You don't know what they are. We could miss our chance. This might be our only shot. The words fell from her lips before she could think twice. As she held her breath, trying to calm her racing heart, Emily raised her hands to the screen. She felt a pull, as if the entity was searching for a connection. We are here, she breathed, unsure if her quiet words could pierce the immense distance. We are alive. The room shook once more, but this time, it felt different. The vibrations morphed into a resonance, a soft hum that crawled under her skin, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. And then, just as quickly, it vanished. The peaceful hum was replaced with a sudden crackle of energy that surged through the machinery and around Emily, electrifying the atmosphere. Look! The data is streaming. Marco's words burst forth as the monitors erupted with colors swirling, radiant, and chaotic. They're responding. Each pulse of color seemed to align with Emily's heartbeat, syncing their existence in a profound way. Could they be bridging the gap? But as she leaned in closer, the colors turned darker, almost malevolent. Wait, no! What are they doing? Stella shouted, her voice filled with rising panic. Emily felt shattered glass creeping over her consciousness, whispering dark secrets and impossible riddles. I don't know, she said, voice shaking, but we have to keep going. The room's energy shifted, and the faces on the screens morphed into so much more, surrounding them with whispers that tangled like vines around their souls. The atmosphere thickened, suffocating, and as the light dimmed further, a chilling realization gripped her heart. They weren't just communicating, they were evaluating. Is it a test? Dr. Chen murmured, shaking his head. What if we fail? Fear clawed at them all, a rising tide of desperation. There was no turning back now. The engagement was real, raw and loaded with a threat older than humanity itself. As they stood together, trembling with anticipation, a thought fluttered through Emily's mind. Were they about to unveil the ultimate question of existence, or would this be their last stand against the unknown force? With bated breath, she whispered, prepare for what comes next. We might just be on the edge of something. But before she could finish, a blinding flash erupted from the monitors, flooding the room with light. Emily! Get back! Marco screamed as chaos erupted once more, a monstrous wave crashing through the control room, plunging them deeper into the abyss. What horror awaited them in the light? Would they emerge transformed, or would they succumb to the very forces they sought to understand? The light engulfed them, searing through their eyelids and into the depths of their minds. Emily staggered, her body refusing to move as a familiar sensation of dread washed over her. It felt like falling, free falling through layers of existence, where time lost all meaning, where fears and whispered truths entwined. Her world was a swirl of chaos, voices rising and crashing in quick succession around her. Emily's heart thudded against her ribs, each beat punctuated by the sense that something ancient and powerful was wrestling for control. She tried to scream, to shout for Marco and Stella, but the sound vanished in the blinding light, leaving her taste of copper in her mouth. "Hold on, Emily!" Marco's distant voice reached her, pushing through the pulsating barrier. "We can still fight this." "Fight what?" She wanted to scream as the light dimmed, revealing outlines of horrific shapes creeping out of the corners of the room. They hovered just beyond the edges of her vision, shimmering and stretching like nightmare silhouettes made real. A chill pricked at Emily's skin, chilling her to the bone. Dark tendrils of shadow started to coalesce on the walls, slithering like snakes, creeping toward her. Their whispers intensified, filling her head with an unbearable weight. It was as if they wanted to pull her inside, to unravel her very essence. "No!" Emily exhaled, mustering every ounce of her will. "You want to take me?" She closed her eyes, focusing hard on the glowing screens in front of her. The monsters might be here, but so was a flicker of hope. "We're more than this. We have choices." Suddenly, the shadows hesitated, their movement faltering as if struck. For a brief moment, the whispers turned to stillness. Emily's heart soared at the breakthrough. "Keep speaking to them," Stella shouted from a little way back. "They're reacting." Breathing deeply, Emily spoke again, projecting her voice, fierce and determined. "We are not what you think. We will not be your pawns." She could feel the growing resistance in her spirit, pushing back against the shadowy entities. A chill rush swept through the room, and the shadows recoiled as if stung. Cleaving light broke the dark where their forms blurred, creating a pulsating barrier. Each heartbeat of the voices spoke directly to her insides, the patterns forming a language akin to a heartbeat synchronizing with her own. Marco's hands flew across the keyboard, frantic yet precise. "Data's fluctuating. We're gaining control." He looked up, excitement blending with determination. "We can turn this around." "What if it's too late?" Dr. Chen's voice shivered as he teetered closer to defeat, his eyes glossed over in fear. "Not if we work together," Emily declared, grounding them with her resolve. She felt the surge of their collective will, the energy coursing through them and lighting up the room, overshadowing the darkness. The screens flickered wildly, streams of colors swirling in a vivid, chaotic dance, a furious display of their mounting struggle. But as the battle raged, there was a sudden shift. The shadows began to coalesce into a singular form towering before them. A murky figure, outlined in darkness yet exuding an intimidating presence, loomed larger and larger until it filled their vision. Fear gripped Emily tightly, suffocating her thoughts. Was this the intelligence behind the chaos? "Who are you?" she yelled, trying to pierce the profound silence that followed. The figure shuddered, a sound echoing from the depths. "Existence is a choice," it rumbled back, its trembling voice vibrating through the air and shaking the very ground beneath them. The essence of its message cut through the silence like a knife, holding the weight of all their fears and uncertainties. "What do you want?" Stella shouted, her courage wavering but present. The entity drifted closer, and Emily felt a pull towards its enormity, as if it was trying to siphon her very soul. To evaluate, to connect. Its voice distorted and echoed, layered with the anguish of countless souls. Hot panic surged through Emily. "No! We are not objects to be evaluated. We are here. We choose our existence," she cried, but the shadows pressed tighter, pushing inwards, threatening to overwhelm her. In that moment, as the figure hovered on the brink, she realized they stood before an unimaginable precipice. This confrontation could unlock potentials far beyond their comprehension, but it could also erase their identities altogether. With her heart in her throat, she took a step forward, ready to embrace or challenge the truth of their existence. "We want to disappear into fear," she declared, her resolve swelling like a tide. Then came the silence. A hush enveloped them, a pregnant pause that felt eternal. Every soul in the room held its breath, waiting to see the fate they were about to forge together or apart. As a deafening sound burst through the control room, a resounding crash vibrated against their bones. They shielded their eyes as the monitors flickered wildly one last time, revealing a final message that sent a shiver down Emily's spine. "Prepare for the unveiling." What did that message mean? Would they be ready for what lay beyond, Or was it already too late? As the echoes of the crashing sound faded, the room was swallowed by an unearthly stillness. Emily blinked against the light as it flickered in erratic patterns, revealing the horrific silhouette that loomed just beyond her grasp of reality. The rhythmic pulse of energy surged, weaving and webbing through them, threatening to choke the very breath from their lungs. Is it showing us something? Marco's voice trembled, uncertain yet barely audible beneath the pressure. No, it's trapping us! Stella yelled, her eyes darting wildly around the room, searching for a break, a sign, anything to ground them. The figure remained still, absorbing their energy like a dark sponge. The whispers returned, but now they exploded into shrieking chaos. Emily pressed her hands to her ears, the volume rising, twisting into shapes that twisted her insides. Stop it! She roared, the faintest spark of her determination igniting once more. We won't let you control us. The boundaries of the entity warped. Shadows rippled, forming grotesque faces that depicted horror and anguish, mouths opened wide as if screaming without sound. Each figure carried their own pain, their own story, and Emily felt that pain seeping into her soul. It was a weight beyond comprehension. Look at them! Dr. Chen gasped, his voice cracking as he pointed. They're echoes. Fragments of what came before: lost lives, lost choices. Emily felt the swell of fear deep within her, suffocating and overwhelming. What do we do? How do we break free? She shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. Choose! Marco blurted, his fingers now faltering over the keyboard, face pale but sharp with a new realization. We need to offer something. Our essence. Our memories. It's the only way to counterbalance what it seeks to evaluate. But what if it takes everything? Stella gasped, recoiling, horrified. Then we do it together. Emily's heart raced. She could feel something shifting deep within her. This was about choice, about relinquishing precious snippets of who they were. We can share our truths, our lives. The shadows convulsed momentarily, the murmurs brewing into turbulence, as if they were calculating the merit of their proposal. Take my first memory, Emily continued, her voice growing steadier. The joy of my family coming together for the first time in years. Images flickered in her mind's eye, vivid and warm. I can do it too, Marco said, his confidence sparking as the initial panic began to dissipate. The day I learned to ride my bike without training wheels. The feeling of freedom. It's mine to give. Stella met their eyes, unsure at first but then resolving like steel. The day I stood upon the summit of Green Mountain, the world opening up before me. I choose that moment. The enormous figure churned in on itself, swirling, absorbing each offered memory like colored smoke pouring into its dark essence. Hesitant whisper swells morphed into roars as the intensity amplified, sending shockwaves through their collective spirit. Suddenly, a bright flash erupted in the control room, and a rift split the air. Unveiling initiated, the echoing voice shouted, vibrating through their very cores. It felt like a force reminiscent of a storm about to break. The anticipation thrummed with electric energy. Hold on! Emily screamed as the rift widened, pulling them towards an abyss. The shadows screamed in agony, drawing closer and closer, the dark entity shuddering as if caught in its own web of desperation. Mere seconds felt like forever as they were sucked forward into the light, the darkness recoiling in outrage as if threatened, and then silence enveloped them once more. Emerging on the other side amazed them. Neon stars spun above as they found themselves on a grand platform, alien architecture towering around them, vibrant with colors that stung their eyes. It was a breathtaking sight, far beyond anything they'd imagined. But at the center loomed a gargantuan structure, thrumming with life, its essence pulsing as if beckoning them closer. What have we entered? Stella whispered, her voice barely a breath. Emily's stomach tightened. I don't know, but I have a feeling we're not prepared for whatever it is. Just then, descending towards them from above, a shifting image flashed, a face they had seen before. It was one of the faces from the shadows. The memory. It was their past, their lost choices intertwining, all coming to a head. What do you want from us? Emily shouted, heart racing, That question hung in the air, thick with dread. Each heartbeat echoed louder, a reminder of choices made and moments stolen as they stood on the threshold of the unknown. And as the face widened into a grin, the answer twisted upon their lips, ready to spill forward, a revelation that could change everything and crumple them entirely. What awaited them in this universe beyond, and would embracing their truths be the key to salvation or their worst nightmare? The grin on the entity's face grew wider, revealing hollow eyes that pulled with darkness. A shiver raced down Emily's spine as it spoke, voice smooth yet riddled with malice. I want your truth. I crave the essence that binds your very soul. The words wrapped around her like chains. Emily felt the weight of that demand settle heavily in her chest. And if we refuse? She spat defiantly. Refusal is an option you can choose. But choices have consequences, it replied, the tone dripping with mockery. Stella stepped closer to Emily, her voice trembling. What does it mean by truth? What truth could possibly satisfy something like this? Every muscle tightened in Emily's body as she glanced around. The vibrant colors of the alien landscape twisted and writhed, almost as if the ground itself was alive. Marco looked paler than ever, his eyes darting around as if trying to decipher the alien architecture's secrets. We can't give it our lives, he whispered in a panic, the edges of his voice fraying. Yet, deep down, Emily understood. This being thrived on their vulnerabilities, their fears, their regrets. It sought out the raw, aching truths buried within them. What if we could take control of this? She murmured, barely audible, more to herself than anyone else. Stella, sensing Emily's resolve, interjected. We have to confront it, face our truths head on. We can't let our past haunt us, we can use it. Emily nodded, gathering her strength. I know what I have to do. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, heart pounding against her ribs like a drum. The being's attention shifted, piqued by her movement. What will you offer? It inquired, anticipation crackling in the air. Taking another shaky breath, Emily summoned the deeper memories clawing for her attention like distant echoes. I offer my greatest fear, the fear of losing my family again. The day my sister stood lifeless on the pavement after that accident, us in pieces. The shadows shifted, and an agonizing wail arose, intertwining with Emily's words. I can do it too! Marco shouted, his voice fierce now. The moment I felt so worthless I tried to disappear behind the shadows of my own life. I wanted to give up. The entity convulsed, dark tendrils swirling, absorbing every syllable. Stella stepped forward, a fire igniting in her eyes. I choose the day I lost my best friend and the loneliness that came after. The guilt of not being there, I will offer that. Each memory drew forth a visceral reaction from the being, as if they had struck a nerve. Emily felt the bond between them strengthen, each belief morphing into energy, a fierce shield pulsating around them. But as truths were laid bare, the structure at the center of the platform began to tremble. Cracks spiderwebbed across its surface, pulsating with a fierce, hungry light. Your words are powerful, but insufficient, the dark entity roared. The energy surged angrily, lashing out, waves of unmeasurable pressure pushing them backward. Emily's breath caught in her throat. We need to strengthen this bond. Share more. But the very air thickened, pulling away, as if the entity itself was struggling to contain the storm brewing within. Your truths are only the beginning. To break free, you must confront your ultimate choice. What ultimate choice? Stella shouted, each word trembled with urgency. The glowing structure heaved ominously. A voice echoed deep within it, sharp and cold. What will you sacrifice to face this darkness? Who among you will relinquish their memory as a key? A bone-chilling silence blanketed them. Fear coiled tightly within their hearts. Sacrifice? The realization rippled among them, a looming dread in each mind. What if facing the entity meant losing a fragment they could never reclaim? Emily's mind raced, her heart pounding. With each passing heartbeat, the rift loomed larger behind her, an abyss filled with unknown terrors. Suddenly, from within the heart of the glowing structure, another face twisted into view, this one utterly terrifying. An older version of herself, eyes hollow, expression twisted with regret and despair. What if that's what we become? Emily whispered, her voice barely audible as she cringed at the image. As the shadows loomed closer, she understood. The choice before them might seal their fate in ways they couldn't comprehend. Would they dare to choose? Or was it too late? With the truth resting heavily on their shoulders and darkness threatening to consume them whole, they stood at a precipice about to plunge. How could they navigate the treacherous ground between past pain and an uncertain future? Their next choice would define everything, and they had to make it soon. What lay on the other side of the darkest abyss? The shadows twisted like fingers, inching closer with every breath they took. The pressure in the air felt almost electric, a biting reminder of the entity's presence. Emily could feel the heat from its gaze, a suffocating weight as if the air itself was thickening around her. What will it take? Marco's voice quivered, edging into the realm of desperation. What do we have to give? His eyes, wide and searching, flicked to Stella, who was pale and trembling. I don't know. Stella's voice cracked like glass. But if we don't choose, it might choose for us. The entity snickered, a sound that rattled Emily's very core. Ah, sweet mortals, your panic is delightful. It leaned closer, the darkness swirling around its form. Imagine sacrificing what weighs you down to face the abyss together. But are you ready for the cost? Emily clenched her fists. Defiance rose within her like a flame. We'll take the risk. We're stronger together. We can hold on to the good parts of ourselves while facing the bad. Your courage is amusing, the being replied, but the hungry leer told a different story. But hear me, sacrifice is not without price. You must give all of what you carried here, untangle your memories, your essence. Tell me, what does each of you value most? Value? Marco echoed, confusion mingling with fear. And just like that, Emily felt at the soft tug of memories once buried. Her sister's laughter, the scent of her childhood home, the warmth of family dinners. They felt precious yet heavy. She shuddered. I value hope, Marco finally said, eyes streaming with tears. The hope that my life means something. That my existence isn't just a shadow against the wall. In response, the being hesitated, and for a moment, Emily thought its smile faltered. I will offer my joy, Stella declared, choking on her words. The happiness of my friendship, my dreams, everything that made me laugh. I'll sacrifice that if it means saving us. The presents swelled, holding their fears in one hand, their offerings in the other, as if deciding on a scale. Emily's heart raced as the shadows coiled tighter. She could almost feel the warm embrace of her sister's smile melting into icy void. Those are first steps, the entity taunted, shifting maliciously. But the final act is your most intimate truth. Who will stand with open arms and sacrifice that memory, the one that defines you? You think you are ready, yet are completely unaware of the true darkness that lingers below. Emily's breath hitched. Each heart-pounding second felt like an eternity. She looked at Marco, who met her gaze pleadingly. The two shared a silent conversation filled with unspoken fears and hopes. What lay at the heart of their pasts? What were they willing to lose for their futures? You don't have to do this, Marco said fiercely. We can find another way. But in that moment, Emily recognized it. The truth was there, pulsing at the edge of her mind, not just her sister's loss, but a piece of her she had locked away. I will do it, she declared, the weight of her choice crashing over her. I will give my memory of the last time I saw my sister alive, of when everything shattered. I'll give that memory, that pain, and yet I need to keep her in my heart. The entity's stormy laughter echoed through the landscape. Ah, yes! The sweet, sacrificial pain. You are learning. But remember, with this severance comes a cost. The ground trembled violently, fissures racing like lightning, ready to consume them. Shadows shrieked, swirling frantically, as if desperate to escape. But just as fear curled into the depths of her stomach, a flicker of hope ignited. Emily felt the warmth of Marco and Stella's hands gripping hers. They stood grounded together, a lighthouse in the imposing dark. Together! Marco yelled. The words burst from him like wildfire, Together, echoed Stella. But the world around them began to rip apart, stretches of memory twirling like smoke into the void beyond. This decision could change everything, but they had to anchor themselves in each other. Are you ready? Emily shouted, heart racing as the abyss yawned widely, consuming all that lay before them. The spectre loomed, grinning in grotesque anticipation as their fate lingered like the fragile thread of a dream. Would they lose themselves to the depths? Would they find themselves reborn? The moment of truth hung, poised precariously over the edge waiting for them to leap. What awaited them in that dark embrace? Would they emerge on the other side reborn? Or would they be lost to the abyss forever? As the ground beneath them quaked and the shadows wailed, Emily felt a jolt surge through her body, like a crack of thunder rattling the very core of her being. The warmth she held in her hands offered fleeting comfort against the spine-chilling dread that surrounded them. Hold on! She screamed, feeling the terror as the fissures widened, threatening to swallow everything into the inky dark. The world tore away in ribbons of color and sound, leaving only the three of them trembling yet resolute amidst the swirling tempest of memories. Emily closed her eyes, the last image of her sister branding itself across her mind. She was ready to let that pain go, despite the disquiet lurking in her heart. On three! Marco shouted, his voice straining against the chaos. 1, 2, 3! Together they took the plunge into the abyss, arms linked as if life itself hummed beneath their feet. An instantaneous rush consumed them, locking them in a spiral of raw emotion. They could feel their offerings being drawn into the void, slipping away like tendrils of smoke. The entity's laughter morphed into a deafening roar that clawed at their sanity. Welcome, welcome! It howled, to the depths of your desires. To choose pain is to embrace the truth. Around them, visions flickered wildly, Marco's childhood home ablaze with happiness, Stella's dreams of flying free, and most horrifying of all, the exact moment Emily had last seen her sister, the sly smile as her world shattered. She felt herself unraveling, pieces of her identity disintegrating into the swirling darkness. Emily! Focus! Marco's voice cut through the noise like a lifeline. What are you losing? Remember who you are. Her breath turned to shards as she forced herself to latch onto the warmth of the memories, the laughter shared, the adventures taken, all clinging like vines to her consciousness. Not all was lost. I'm still here. I have them in my heart. Good. Stella's response echoed like a beacon, pushing through the encroaching shadows. Don't let it take you. But the shadows thickened, pressing against them like a weight of despair. Each face twisted into a grotesque semblance, flickering like dying embers. Emily could hear whispers crawl into her mind, the entity taunting her. You think you can hold on to joy while giving away sorrow? It's either one or the other. Your choice defines you. No! Emily declared, defiance flaring. You don't get to control my choices. She felt the memories swirling, their essence fighting back with newfound vigor. The warmth of Marco's and Stella's hands ignited a fire deep within her. Suddenly, Marco's voice rang out, breaking through the tempest. Remember, this pain shapes us, but it doesn't define us. We make our choices. The shadows shrieked, twisting in protest, and the air crackled with energy. Emily's heart raced as threads of colors began swirling around them, vivid reds and soothing blues, the tapestry of their lives. Could she weave them together? With a fierce resolve, she concentrated on nurturing those fleeting memories, knitting them tightly into a tapestry of hope. We are stronger together! She shouted. We can embrace it all. The entity roared in frustration. Fools! You don't know what you're inviting. The colors burst like fireworks, exploding in a kaleidoscope of light. Emily squeezed Marco's and Stella's hands tighter, an unbreakable bond as they propelled themselves forward. The shadows shrieked. Were they breaking free? As the light swallowed them whole, time bent and twisted, and the ground fell away beneath their feet. Trust! Emily urged, her voice steady even as uncertainty clawed at her. Trust ourselves. And then the world erupted in blinding brilliance. But just as quickly as it appeared, the brightness faded. They found themselves standing on a precipice, an endless chasm before them, jagged edges looming ominously. "Did we make it?" Marco whispered, hope trembling in his voice. But before anyone could respond, something stirred within the abyss, a shadow far larger than before, a presence that pulsed with an ancient, unfathomable power. "Welcome back," the entity hissed, exhilaration dancing in its voice. "Let us see if you can truly withstand what I have in store." What loomed beyond that darkness? A place of despair, or something entirely unforeseen? The echo of their heartbeats filled the charged air, a warning of the trials yet to come. The entity loomed before them, its figure pulsating with an unsettling allure. Emily felt her heartbeat quicken as she stepped forward, every muscle tense. This was at the moment they would either crumble under the weight of their choices or find a way to reshape their destiny. "Are you prepared?" the entity taunted, its shadow stretching, twisting, hiding the very core of its nature. "Do you still wish to embrace what you have chosen?" Emily steadied herself. "We've faced our truths. We choose to confront you." The words rang with defiance, echoing in the charged atmosphere. Marco and Stella stood firm beside her, the unity pulsing between them like a lifeline. The darkness flickered at their resolve, almost reconsidering. Then, with a voice that could shake the heavens, it boomed, "Choose your final offering. One last truth from each of you. But beware, the price will be steep." Emily's mind raced. Her greatest fear, her deepest joy, could she navigate this final choice? "I offer my unwavering hope," she declared, voice steady despite the tempest swirling around them. "Even in the face of despair, I choose to believe in the possibility of light." The shadows writhed, absorbing the essence of her words, twisting into an ominous form that reflected her internal struggles. Marco took a deep breath, stepping closer. "I will give you my innate fear of insignificance," he added, clarity shining in his eyes. "But with that, I also choose the knowledge that I can impact those around me." "A collective realness," Stella chimed in, inspired by her friends. "I offer my truth, everything I've hidden. The joy, the pain, the friendships, the losses, I embrace it all." The entity paused, shadows swirling around like a hurricane. As their truths hung in the air, it clawed at the fabric of what they'd enfolded into their identities. The whispers returned, a cacophony of confusion, as if uncertain how to process the strength behind their choices. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, fissures splitting the surface. "You think you can escape your past?" it thundered. "Your joys and your agonies are intertwined. Choose wisely." With an explosion of energy, the entity surged forward, intentions unclear, but Emily refused to waver. "We will not be puppets!" she cried, determination hardening beneath her skin. "We choose not to succumb. We confront, we connect, and we rise above." A force erupted from within their joined hands, colors spun in exquisite patterns, intertwining with ancient whispers of those lost, and those remembered. "We are humanity!" Marco shouted, voice echoing against the enormity of their challenge. "We will not bow down to despair." The entity recoiled slightly, shadows retracting, yet its interest sharpened. "What is it you truly seek?" it hissed, curiosity seeping through the chaotic intent. "Understanding," Emily replied, voice unwavering as the flames of courage surged higher within her. "We want to ask the hard questions, to confront the darkness, and most importantly, to create the light together." The air crackled, thickening as colors pulsed in shimmering waves. The shadows shivered, displaying fleeting glimpses of memories caught in an eternal loop, the patterns of their lives, woven from every beckoning moment. The entity's form flickered, shifting like a mirage as if the weight of the truths threatened to consume it. "Your choice defines you," it whispered, tone shifting from rancor to intrigue. "If you wish for understanding, are you prepared to embrace the unknown?" "Yes," they shouted, hearts entwined in fervor, fueled by their shared determination. And then it happened, a rending break in the air, the fabric of reality twisted and stretched until suddenly, a blinding light erupted like a supernova. Emily shielded her eyes, feeling warmth surge through her body, a profound comfort enveloping her spirit. The shadows screamed and began to dissipate, breaking down as if spun from brittle glass, casting away remnants of fear and despair. "Allow it in," Marco urged, a pure wave of emotion radiating from him. The darkness unraveled completely, exposing an expanse of possibility, a landscape that sparkled with glowing hues and resonated with soft melodies, like the laughter of stars. It felt alive, as if inviting them to become part of something greater. As the light settled, Emily, Marco, and Stella stood before the entrance of this new realm. This was not just a victory, it was a promise. Each of them had emerged transformed, not merely survivors but architects of their own destinies. "What do we do now?" Stella whispered, all coloring her voice. "We live," Emily said, a radiant smile breaking across her face. "We choose, we connect, and we build our truths together." Hand in hand, they stepped forward into the illuminated horizon of possibilities, chasing the stars that beckoned them into the unknown. They had weathered the storm, faced their truths, and wielded hope against the tangible darkness. Now, they would embrace life anew, carving paths in the cosmos based on empathy, courage, and unity. And in doing so, they became echoes of light, guiding others lost to the void, reminding every soul that their existence mattered, that choices, indeed, were the essence of life. But before the shadows faded completely, one last whisper echoed in the void, tempting them with one last inquiry, lingering in the air: what will you become? The power to answer lay within them, their journey only just beginning. Now, before you go, listen up. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are coming your way. Smash that like button right now. It seriously feeds the algorithm and keeps us going. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-bending ending. Share your thoughts. Every single one counts. Oh, and don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Show your support and let us grow this amazing community together.